Welcome to the Comfort Keepers Davy podcast, where we elevate the human spirit. Here's your host, Christy Groulet.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Comfort Keepers Davy podcast. Unfortunately, in case you haven't noticed, I am not Christy Groulet, but I'm Jeremy Wolf, and today we're joined by Kemar Brown from the team at Comfort Keepers. And if you're out there and you've had a loved one, a family member, friend, somebody that has suffered from dementia, Alzheimer's, you would know that these are no joking matter. Myself, my grandmother actually suffered from Alzheimer's many years back, and I experienced firsthand what that does to somebody. And, it's really helpful to kind of look at these things through the lens of a caregiver, somebody that, is on the ground dealing with this day to day. And that's really what we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about, how to deal with these issues with your family members, your friends. We're going to give you some actionable tips, tricks, things that you can do. And then we're going to talk about resources that are available out there. So, Kemar, good to see you again, my man. You ready to get into this?
Thank you. Good to see you. Good seeing you too. Yes, for sure. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start off. Kemar, what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have around Alzheimer's and dementia?
I think the biggest one straight off the bat is that it only affects old people. And by old, I mean the term old is relative, but we're seeing it so rampant now, so common in persons younger in their 50s, early 60s. And traditionally, we were seeing it in older folks,
Yeah, I mean, that's what comes to my mind, right? When I think of these things, because like I said, my grandmother had that. She was already an elderly woman at that point. You're not really thinking that people are getting this when they're younger. Why do you think it is that more and more young people, I mean, we have better technology nowadays, better medicine. We understand these things presumably better. Why do you think it is that more people are being affected by this at younger ages?
I wish I knew, Jeremy. My thought would be, I don't know, maybe it's the diet, maybe it's the food, I don't know. But for some reason, we're seeing it affecting persons at a younger age. Not too sure, but we're here to help. That's all I know.
Well, the jury's still out on this stuff because nowadays, right, everybody's plugged into electronics, just constant dopamine, quick fix. Yeah. Everything around our society is geared towards instant gratification and quick fix. So God only knows what that's going to do to the human mind. Certainly, it can't be a positive thing to be plugged in all the time. Lots going on there, man.
Yeah, it's definitely not the greatest thing, but again, we're seeing it in persons younger, so much younger, and but again, we're here to help, and we've been helping changing the lives of persons that we've come in contact with that are suffering from this disease, and it's not a great thing at all.
So, Kemar, you're someone that is on the ground dealing with this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with this day to day. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing out in the field that families are facing when caring for those with dementia, Alzheimer's?
It's a host of things, Jeremy. It is, for one, it's seeing their family member, their loved one, their mom, their dad, their aunt, their uncle, progressing from just a little bit of memory lapse into full-blown Alzheimer's or dementia in sometimes a very short period of time. It's them changing, their whole personality is changing. Essentially, they're becoming a child again, not being able to do anything for themselves, not remembering where they are, not remembering sometimes who these persons are, their loved one. And it's extremely challenging. A lot of family members, it's very hard for them to adjust to these changes, especially when it's happening so fast, and it's very hard for them to accept it. So I think those are some of the most common things that we're running into. Just family members accepting the diagnosis, or sometimes they aren't even they haven't gotten a full diagnosis, but just seeing these changes in them, it's sometimes very hard for them to accept.
Yeah, it can be very, very scary, difficult, challenging. So much to deal with, right? We all got our own stuff going on, and then you have a loved one that's suffering like this, and you got to deal with that on top of everything that's going on in life. So bring Comfort Keepers into the equation. What kind of support do you guys offer? Like, I'm sitting out there, God forbid somebody, my father, somebody gets one of these situations, one of these diseases. And I pick up the phone, I call Comfort Keepers. I say, I need some help with this. Like, what does that look like? Walk us through what kind of support you provide over there.
Yeah, great question. So first and foremost, we would kind of get an idea of what is going on, the totality of what's happening with your loved one, to see if we are the right fit. Oftentimes we want to help, but if you're looking for things that we are not necessarily the right fit for, we would probably steer you in another direction. We'll help you nonetheless, but let's say we are coming on board to help you. We'd find out what it is that's going on with your loved one, and we would meet with you in person, meet with them, get a feel of their personality, because that's a big part of what we do, is sending a caregiver that's best suited for that person. And individuals that we notice that are going through suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, they oftentimes do not like change. They hate it. It's a big thing for them, but it gets so overwhelming for the loved ones, for their family members, for their daughters, for their sons. They essentially want to be a child again and not be a caregiver, but their mother or whoever is suffering from this requires sometimes 24-hour care, and they're unable to do that, and it's overwhelming for them. So Comfort Keepers will come in to see, we essentially meet them where they're at, whatever their needs are. They need us for a few hours to come in, help them with their daily living activities, help them shower, eat, dress, stimulate them cognitively. That's a big part of what we do, playing board games with them, just being a companion to them. That has shown so much, change in the clients that we service right now that are suffering from that. So
yeah, speaking of like stimulating the mind, right? Isn't that one of the biggest contributing factors to these types of ailments, where like laying dormant and not having activity leads to, like, you got to keep your mind stimulated, you got to keep engaged, and that's something that you do. And I encourage folks out there, like, don't wait until it gets too late to deal with this stuff, right? You got to stay active, you got to have a good diet, you got to do all these preventative measures so that you don't end up in cognitive decline. Because so this is a lot of this stuff, I guess, is genetic. I'm not a doctor or anything, but there's so many different things that you could do. I mean, our bodies are our engines, right? The better you take care of yourself, the less likely you're going to have to deal with this. So, Kemar, what if I'm noticing some decline in a loved one? Maybe, again, like I said, one of my parents. What are some things that I can start doing early on, as soon as I start to notice on a day-to-day basis? What are some tips, tricks, things that you've noticed that have worked to, at the very least, kind of like stay the course of the development of these afflictions?
Well, first and foremost, I would say contact your mother or father's primary care physician to see what's going on. If it's something greater than they can handle, I'm assuming, or I'm sure they'll refer you to a neurologist to do further tests to get a certain diagnosis of what's going on with your loved one. Once that is set, you know that, okay, mom has early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, or whatever it is. The next thing to do would to get them physically active if they're not. And if they are, continue doing so. And if you can step it up a little, that's even greater. Stimulate them, read to them, have them reading, just using their minds more. Again, as you said, if you lay dormant, that's not the greatest thing to do. It's only going to have them declining even faster. And if you're unable to do these things on your own, that's where we come in. And again, we are extremely flexible. We're not in the business of forcing anyone to take us on for long periods of the day. We have clients who we visit them once or twice per week, and that's all they need right now. And as their situation changes, then we will adjust accordingly. But first and foremost, visit your primary care physician. And if you're referred to a neurologist, just have that diagnosis, set so you know what's going on with your loved one, and then just seek some help, from us, or if you can do it yourself.
Yeah, brother. I mean, this stuff is so frightening. Like as I get older, I'm say older, right? I'm 45 now, but like how many of us have been out there, right? And like you go to the refrigerator and you open the door to get something and you just like, what the hell did I come here to get? You just completely black out. And then you're like, oh my God, am I starting to get dementia or whatever? And like, just sometimes that stuff happens, or even like the general garden variety brain fog, right? We're on here talking on the podcast. And I think I'm going to, I know what I'm going to say. And then all of a sudden I blank out. Man, the other day I was driving home and I forgot where I was. I was in my community. Like I've driven down the road 1,000 times, and I was like, it was like a sheer panic set in. So I could only imagine what it's like to have that, happen very, very frequently and to have that out of control. I mean, it's got to be unbelievably scary. So tell us about the GUIDE program. You mentioned that to me. What is it? Who is it for?
Yeah, so the GUIDE program is spearheaded by Medicare. And it was spearheaded to provide additional support to persons going through Alzheimer's, dementia. Again, we're seeing it in persons of much younger ages compared to years ago. There's so many, I don't remember the figures, but there are millions and millions of people suffering from this disease, and persons undiagnosed. So I'm sure once information goes out and there's, there's more information surrounded around Alzheimer's and dementia, there are more people that will be going to get tested. Because a friend of mine, her aunt is showing signs of Alzheimer's, but she is in the denial stage of what it could be. So she doesn't want to go to the doctor to get tested or checked. So, and there are a lot of persons like her, but diagnosed patients or persons suffering from this disease is in the millions. So with that said, the GUIDE program is centered around them, just providing additional support. It is the Guiding and Improved Dementia Experience. So again, it's spearheaded by Medicare, and it's for persons with Medicare Parts A and B. That's the traditional Medicare. And it is also, it's a respite care program. So it's for persons that their loved ones are providing care for them, and their loved ones just need, a little time off. It may be, you don't have to be directly providing hands-on care. If you are in another state and your mom is in Florida, you're living in Washington or wherever you are, but you are directly a part of booking her doctor's appointments or anything centered around her care, the GUIDE program essentially would be for you. So it's one, they have to have Medicare Parts A and B, and they have to be showing some signs of cognitive decline or a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia.
Got it. Now is the program resources for those or additional funding? Like if I have access to the GUIDE program and I qualify for that, am I going to be able to access funding to hire a company such as Comfort Keepers to come in, or do they have their own resources in place? How does that typically work?
Yeah, great question. So yes, the GUIDE program allows you to, once you're qualified, it gives you free in-home care per year. And every year that amount that you are rewarded is renewed per year. So now the program just got started officially July of this year. So it's pretty new. If you go on their website, I think you'll see sometime last year, but I think it was still in its beta stage and trial stages, but this year it officially got kicked off. So let's say somebody applied and was accepted in the program. Dependent on their level of cognitive decline, they can be awarded anywhere from 30 to I think 90 hours of care per year.
Wow.
So it's not a lot when you look at it on a per year basis, on a yearly basis. But what it also opens up that person to is 24-hour access to a nurse and a host of other benefits apart, once they're accepted in this program. And for the clients that we are utilizing this program, that we are servicing, they use it as supplemental hours to whatever they were already receiving. So it's not significant hours now, but I'm assuming once the program grows, the hours will grow as well. So
yeah, for sure. And there's so many unbelievable programs and resources that are available out there, and often the problem is there's a lot of difficulty and red tape, and just it could be difficult to learn about these programs and get the information. So how does somebody access this? Is this like, do you go, I guess you go through the government website, you just file an application through there? Where's the best place to go and submit an application for the guide program?
So yes, you can apply, from my knowledge, on their website. But if you want to utilize the caregiving portion of this program, let's say you come to an agency like ours, like Comfort Keepers, and you're like, hey, we need some help. My mom suffers from Alzheimer's or dementia. I'd find out what's going on with your mom. And essentially, it's pretty simple. I'd get her Medicare policy number, her date of birth, Medicare policy number, and that's about it. I'd submit it, and they would see if she's eligible. And once she's eligible, an official introductory call would be scheduled with the program for them to tell you some more about it. And once everything is done, and you will be notified when you can now schedule free in-home care, and you can use all of those 90 hours at once, or you could use it at 4-hour increments until it's done, and then the following year it will be renewed. So one, you can apply directly online, and if you apply directly through the guide program online and you want to utilize the caregiving portion, I think they will look to see what zip code you're in and see what companies like us are credentialed with them, and kind of send you in that direction.
Right on. And if somebody's listening out there and they have questions specifically about the guide program, could they contact Comfort Keepers? Could you help walk them through that process on your end?
Definitely. Give us a call. We'll be happy to help you for sure.
So Kemar, what would be one thing that you wish people understood about caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia?
One thing, that they are people as well, and they were once normal. I think sometimes we forget that these people were normal just like you and I. It's sometimes, and even for me, when I go to a client and I'm seeing them in their state, more often than not, I didn't know them prior to them suffering from this disease. And what I try to do sometimes is get pictures of them, hear stories of them in their former life, because it helps me to see who they were before this disease. So I think that's the one thing I would say for us to try and remember, that they too were once normal like us, living normal lives. And with that said, we should treat them as such. They need more personalized care now, but they're individuals like you and I, human beings like you and I, and should be treated as such.
Yeah, and I can only hope that for those that do suffer from these terrible afflictions, that they're not like, when you're struggling to find something, like the more you grasp for it and the more you put pressure on yourself to find the thing, like when you start forgetting stuff, the more you suffer. Yeah. So I can only hope that at some level, when somebody gets advanced enough in these stages, they're just there, right? They're not constantly wondering, oh my God, who am I? They're just kind of existing in the present. Yeah. Much like an animal, like a dog does. I'm not trying to compare humans to dogs, but much like you're just there. Like you don't know, like, just like ignorance is bliss in that case. And I know it's still tough for families, but I can only hope that that's the majority of the time for those that are affected by this, because the alternative is very scary, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I do agree.
All right. Anything we missed? Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up here?
The only other thing I can think about was probably a week or two ago. I was just in the office making calls, responding to emails, and I got a call from this company that they are now running clinical trials, centered around dementia and Alzheimer's. They did round one already, and they're on round two now, and it's a paid clinical trial. I've never heard of the company before. Didn't know they existed, but they said the participants of round one saw great results. I remember them saying there is a cure to Alzheimer's and dementia, and
Wow.
they're running clinical trials now, and I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it got me excited because just seeing again what I mentioned earlier, seeing someone before they started getting this disease and who they are now, sometimes it leaves me almost in tears, to be honest. I remember coming in front of a client, and she was in her former life, she was so accomplished, and to see who she was now, it was not the best thing to see at all. So I'm hopeful that there will be a cure for this disease in the near future, and but for now, Comfort Keepers is here to help anyone that's struggling with a loved one that's going through this, or if they themselves are going through it in early stages. Again, we will meet you wherever you are. If you need us for a few hours per week, that's where we'll come in. Companionship, help you with all your daily living activities. We won't treat you as if you are a child or not a human. We'll just be there for support.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. If you found this content useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you've had a personal experience with any of these topics, any of these matters, let us know in the comments, or let us know your biggest takeaway. We always love to get your feedback. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and we will catch everyone next time on the next episode of the Comfort Keepers Davey podcast. Everyone take care. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Comfort Keepers Davey podcast. For more information, visit comfortkeepers.com or call 954-947-7954.